If you don't know who I am, my name is Dave Emmons. I'm the technical training manager for everything east of the Mississippi in North America. And on the line with us today is Mark Saunders, my counterpart for everything west of the Mississippi in North America. As with all of these topics, we are about a half an hour in length with Q&A to follow. If you have a question during the presentation, feel free to use the chat feature to ask those questions, and we'll try to get to them during the presentation. That being said, today's topic is commercial water softening, when and where to use it. This is just a general primer on where to look for opportunities to start in commercial softening. When asked to do these sorts of presentations, I put on my old service provider hat when I was running my own service company and saying, how did I generate business within that market? Where did I go to look? How do I apply that? And how would I do that in water treatment? Okay, and that's a lot of the questions we have from dealers and distributors. Where are new markets I can open up and tap? Well, we're going to start by looking at some of the most consistent valued opportunities out there for water treatment that provide a lot of value to the end user. And some of these are critical to maintaining operational status of these businesses. The easiest ones to really kind of address is anyone who is heating water commercially really could benefit from water softening, pre-treating their water heating equipment, even in relatively soft water markets. Why? Volume matters when we're heating water and producing scale. If we can keep these appliances at or very near their energy efficiency ratings from the day they're installed by having proper pre-treatment, we can prevent a lot of soft dollar leakages out of these establishments long term. And that speaks to feeding equipment downstream as well. Any hospitality business, from hotels, resorts, casinos, hospitals, prisons. Yeah, we don't think of prisons as hospitality, but they basically have all the same services there as well. Laundry has a huge impact when using softened water on chemical usage, the heat used to wash those clothes, and the length of the linens and products being washed in those facilities survive a lot longer. And that is, any way we can extract more value out of our overhead investments in a business, we want to do that. And water treatment can do that for hospitality. Then there's things like warewashing equipment in all those hospitality environments. Right now with COVID, restaurants are kind of taking a beating. So, but warewashing equipment in the United States, if there's too much scale buildup on a dishwasher, that restaurant could get shut down for biological concerns for growth. But more importantly, it's going to save on the energy cost here. It's going to save the booster heater that feeds this dishwasher. It's going to reduce chemical usage cost all the way around with the unit and deliver a better result for the dishes going on the table. So this impacts all facets of a business, of a restaurant, whether or not that dishwasher is producing clean dishes at the most affordable price tag that you have. And there's one universal truth in water treatment. Water is always a pay me now or pay me later scenario. You either invest in upfront treatment or you pay for the management of the results of not treating your water, scale buildup, corrosion, those sorts of factors, accelerated equipment replacement. Pre-treatment for reverse osmosis systems for processed water, depending upon the application. This is huge in prolonging the life of membranes in that application. So we really, really want to extract the value out of an RO system. Pre-treating water with softened water will protect that membrane from a lot of issues. And then there's high pressure boilers, high efficiency boiler systems in businesses for steam generation, for clean in place operations, for bottlers and things like that, in food processing equipment. Every food processing plant has some way to clean down all their equipment and lines. And that typically starts with water, high temperature water. And as we all know, high temperature water has issues with scale production. So if we can keep that water and they're going into those boilers that are generating the steam for those clean in place processes, we're managing a lot of their maintenance issues before they ever take place. If you look at large processing facilities, quite often at the end of the shift, they have crews that go in with essentially fire hoses that hose down all the production facilities. Well, that equipment still has to rinse clean. Softened water addresses that concern. And those are very large opportunities when you come across them. And then there's pre-treatment for even smaller commercial RO systems out there that are going to benefit from, limiting the following of membranes and get greater efficiencies out of these units when you can adjust the recovery rates to very high levels because you're using softened water. So you're not following those membranes nor dumping a lot of hardness down the drain. So what are the benefits of soft water? And this is where it really adds up. Just a 16th of an inch or 1.6 millimeters of scale will reduce heating systems efficiencies by 12%. That's profound, especially when we think about scale production as a continual process that we're layering on here. So if you have a high efficiency furnace, you're losing that efficiency day after day if you're feeding it hard water. That's where a lot of your costs and expensive failures are going to come from. 50% of washing detergents and powders and cleaning products have been found from using soft water in hospitality environments from independent studies. Softened water will save considerable amount of time cleaning hotel lavatories and things like that, why they're not scrubbing and using chemicals to remove the scale buildup. It's rinsing clean. They have less work to do and get more efficient about doing so. And that right now, that may be critical to some of these operations, that savings in labor and reducing time on site for employees. A water softener can produce payback on its investment in 2 to 4 years in a residential environment, let alone a commercial one. And the economy of scale here is profound. Anyone heating water will benefit from a softener, especially if they're using high volumes of water. Water softeners will prolong the life of reverse osmosis and UF sort of applications as well. Other applications, bakeries, ingredient water, anyone where they want to control the ingredient going into their product is going to benefit from this. So good places to target for this are high-end restaurant chains that are not only is managing the expensive equipment in the kitchen important, but the quality of water hitting that table and the quality of water going into their food products is important to them. High-end food restaurants will pay very, very well for this sort of service and application treatment. So scenarios that you want to use softeners on. Hot side only is typically what we do in commercial water treatment. This is dishwashers, laundry service, maintaining that energy efficiency of water heaters, boilers, if they need to reduce chemical costs, cooling towers, You want to increase the life expectancy of dishwashers and water heaters, reverse osmosis pretreatment, ingredient water. No matter what that ingredient is, water softeners play a role. Anywhere where you have 10 grains per gallon hard or harder, this could be essential to that business, and even less depending on the industry. One opportunity that's hanging over all of our heads is opportunities with vaccine production or in the biopharmacy world right now. COVID-19 not only is a challenge for us, but it's also an opportunity. When vaccine production goes into effect on these vaccines, there's going to be a huge demand not only for high purity water for injection, but the pre-treatment for those processes as well. So this may be, a good web search to Google local or national vaccine manufacturers for where you live. We do whole house softening commercially where it's impractical to separate out the hot side. If the plumbing is configured in a way where you can't get a water softener in front of the water heater itself, you may want to do the whole building. Or extreme hardness situations. If you want they just want to improve the feel of the water, especially in hospitality. When you're over 30 grains per gallon hard or 513 ppm of hardness, you're going to see a benefit for the whole building here. And why? Because scale in plumbing systems is not easily removed. You really end up replumbing the building when you run into those issues long term. Simply the act of pumping water out of the ground at a steady 54 degrees from being below 8 feet in the ground, most wells are, pumping that into a building that's considerably warmer, drives scale formation. So you can have, buildings in cold climates with hard water that are literally scaling their plumbing closed over time. So when you go to look at softening opportunities, ask hot side only or whole house softening. Do we need to do one or the other? Are they experiencing issues with washing equipment or water heaters scaling up or short life? Have they lost production runs? One of the things I did in building out these sorts of decks was just Google web search the biggest water using industries in my area. And you can find lists on this, and it gives you places to target. And one of the surprising ones in North America, the single largest use of water using industry in North America is the automotive industry. There's not a whole lot of water used in assembling a car, but all the processes to the parts, to the paint, to the coatings, to the fabrics and the textiles that feed into building a car, there's an immense web of smaller providers that use lots of water that go into the production of a finished automobile. So understand that once you ping one industry, you can follow that back through its supply chain for opportunities. Or you can start the other end of the spectrum and work towards those bigger elephants to hunt, so to speak. Do they want to reduce water heating costs? Because this is one of those fixed operational costs. Well, as we heat water, we're adding more and more scale, so we're increasing that cost structure to that water heat. Want to manage that up front. Are they using too many treatment chemicals in their operations managing their water issues? Do they want to have a desire to reduce scale or water-related service calls? Is it impacting their business? Understand where they're coming from and what problems they want to solve that they're having in their industry, and solve that issue. Are they using softening to solve a specific water chemistry issue like heavy metals, arsenic, those sorts of factors, tools? Are targeting one exact contaminant that matters? Or are they just interested in maintaining the warranty status of that piece of water using equipment, which can be profound in some industries? And these pictures are probably pictures people have seen before, but this is the difference here between hard water and soft water on the lathering of soaps and detergents and their effectiveness. This is basic chemistry. But the reality is this sudsing action is what lifts the oils, dirts, and greases off the surface of materials. So without this sudsing, we really don't have an effective detergent. We need this foaming action to remove those greases and oils away from what we're trying to clean. That's the effect of it. And then imagine having to clean, being that hotel maid or room service person that has to scrub this off their showers all day long. Not only is it going to improve their quality of life, but it's going to reduce the labor to clean that room and the chemicals invested to do so. And here's your basic water heater. This is half filled with scale. You have to heat that scale up to a temperature in order to heat the water, and then you're ever shrinking the volume of water you have to heat. So this water heater is going to run more and more and more the longer it runs on hard water. Plus, the life of this unit is far shorter than you would if you were doing treatment. So what do you need to find out for sizing a softener? Incoming pipe size to the building if you're going to do a whole house. If you're not going to do whole house, you're just going to do hot side, what is the size of the plumbing feeding that water heater or bank of water heaters in the building? Why? Because that engineering design is built into that flow, and we're going to match the flow to the size of the plumbing of the softener. It kind of solves that sizing issue right there. And then flow requirements. How much water are they using when? And how fast do they need that? That's going to be derived from the processing equipment. So you may have to get into understanding the water use of the equipment to size properly. What's the hardness, iron, and heavy metal content of the water? Do they have a need for pre-treatment prior to this to manage dirt load to keep that softener effective as well? Do they have a consistent need for soft water 24/7 or during operation? That will impact system design and selection at this point in time. Do they have the required space available, and can they get the units into the building? Quite often you can run into situations where you have to bring all this equipment in through some sort of overhead door or man door to get in, and you may have had an equipment room built around the equipment. I've run into that experience in my past where you may have to redesign the system in order to fit it through the door, or are they willing to tear out a wall or a ceiling to lower equipment in? Those sorts of things come into your thinking on an estimate. Are there utilities present at the installation location in order to facilitate that installation? And if you have issues with that, how can you be creative to solve those problems? One of the biggest things with water softeners is there a drain that can handle the backwash flow rate? There is a rather large global quick service restaurant chain that doesn't use softeners because their restaurants have a consistent problem with grease clogging up their drains. So they had to eliminate water softeners as an option for their corporate stores because they weren't managing their grease traps and their drains well enough to allow them to flush or backwash properly. So understand that there is infrastructure impact here as well. Sometimes it's distance to drains where you may have to be creative with a sump, pit and pump that will be an injector pump for the unit. Do they have the water there and the electrical there as well to support the unit as well. But this is the profound impact that softening can have on a business. These are the same two glasses from the same restaurant, one without a softener on the dishwasher and one with. This unit had a combination of scale buildup and then particulates of scale etching the glass. It acts as basically sandblasting the glassware over time. This is a glass you have to throw out. And let's face it, if a restaurant put this glass on your table with a glass of water, you'd be doubting the quality of the rest of that facility on quality of food, and you probably wouldn't be back if you were a discerning individual. This is for gas stations or rest stops or restaurants, anywhere. If you see this sort of scale buildup on a restroom, you're questioning the hygiene there as well. This is simple things that can have profound impact on the impression or perception of a customer using your facilities. This is a boiler, scale buildup. This scale buildup, A, is limiting water volume, and it's going to impact the unit. Here you're seeing scale and corrosion at the same time. This is a 2-inch water line from Kalispell, Montana. This store had to replumb their entire building, and this is only after 1 year in operation. They were starving the equipment for water all downstream and couldn't deliver water. I wonder why they were having so many service calls on their equipment. Well, they had 40 grain per gallon hard water coming into the building, very cold well coming into a warm building, and this is what was scaling out. They needed to replumb the entire building and install a softener at point of entry just to manage this issue. Very, very expensive thing to do if you are managing your water costs up front. Industrial process waters differ from commercial softening applications. And I'm using industrial process water as the ingredient water within a plant for processing or manufacturing anything. And commercial softening as anyone in business, from a food truck on the street up to your hair, your beauty parlor, your barber shop, to your grocery store. That's all commercial softening. But industrial process waters, that's your manufacturing facilities. We want to separate out the two. There's slightly different drivers there. Why? Because in commercial softening, you tend to have customer interaction with the business. Industrial process water, this is about maintaining that equipment and the ability to produce a product at the standards demanded by that industry. So you're going to need to get intimate with these customers and understand the application or use of water that is critical to their success. Let's take our Everpure facility in Hanover Park, Illinois. We manufacture filter cartridges there. Well, water softeners and RO units are critical in one step of our manufacturing process. Our can washer, we punch out our aluminum cans in a press that's lubricated with industrial lubricant oils, right? We've got to get those cans clean so we can line them with a polyethylene liner. And if that liner doesn't stick, it can rupture, burst, and have impact on products. So if we can't get those cans clean, we can't line them and we can't produce a good product. So if our softeners go down, that means our can washing equipment can't get the proper water to clean those greases off, and we lose a production run. That's the impact of water that has on our own one portion of Pentair's water treatment business is we need this equipment to manufacture water treatment equipment. So understanding that impact drives the need for that equipment. We have triplex 3,900 units in that facility, so we can bring lines on and meet those can washers' water requirements all day long. Other thing is you want to ask the required water chemistry from the treatment process. Make no assumptions. Ask. not only the stakeholders, the decision makers within the business, but the guys on the manufacturing floor, the quality people, the maintenance folks. What are their problems as well? Because sometimes these groups aren't talking well within an organization to understand each other's needs. Things may get missed, right? So talk to more than just the stakeholders, the person writing the check, and understand the needs of the entire business. Because guess what? If we can reduce downtime for the maintenance people in doing PM work on their process equipment, that is profound for the operations of that business, not just the product they're producing. Understand the flow requirements per process or manufacturing line, so you understand whether or not you're going to need to be able to bring equipment on and offline to manage increasing demand for variable demand, or do they have consistent demand? Understanding that demand environment is going to be critical to properly selecting equipment. And even if you aren't doing that selection and a distributor or someone else is doing that work, you need to ask those questions up front and understand that. Why? In any process where you're asking questions and trying to get information, if you have to go back too often to a customer to get information, they may start to question your professionalism and your knowledge set. That, do you really know what I need? So ask a lot of questions up front. There's that first introductory meeting. It's in that second one where you're doing that discovery work, that digging into details, that you really need to come loaded for bear and ask all your good questions of what they need around water, so you can dot your I's and cross your T's and get a fantastic quote out that meets their needs, and be able to explain that quote as well. Typical group effort with the process and design engineers. If this is new construction, you're going to may need to work with the architects as well, or another good way to get into commercial water treatment is find commercial facilities architects or designers that are designing plants for people. Get in with them on the ground floor. That's a long-term relationship building funnel versus going out and talking to existing businesses. But we all need long and short-term goals. Economics and efficiency of operation is important to design here. Get this done right. Be as efficient and cost-effective as possible with these groups. Why? You're going to show them value up front long-term, or it leaves you some room to extract some more efficiencies or sales later as they grow with their business. And limiting downtime is critical to service success here. You want to be able to limit downtime not only on the softening design system, but the process plan itself. So that puts us right at 28 minutes here for the presentation this morning. I'm hoping I gave you some good avenues to look at or some things to think about this morning. But if you have any other requests for training, please send them to training.request@pentair.com. I know we offer these programs at set times, but if you have colleagues or individuals that may need to see some of this information, or even customers that you would like to sit in on these, feel forward that request to us. We'd be happy to go out and help in that regard. For anything Pentair, Pentex, structural, Fleck, Autotrol, anything in that Pentair universe, we're happy to help out with your needs. If you just want to talk shop about an application, or you want to just give us some feedback, what you love and hate about our products, things you might see that we may need to develop for your industry or an industry, let us know. Give us that feedback and we'll put it in our product managers and engineers' ears for you. Thank you very much for attending. So